For the last couple years, I've been driving around this beautiful set of wheels. Black, dark, mysterious, sleek, powerful. I've loved driving it. It was admittedly a bachelor decision. I bought it at the same time that I was beginning a new life as a bachelor. And for sure, I was looking for something of myself, or perhaps the self that I wanted to be with that decision. And it's the car that I took with me on new adventures. It's the car that I drove around my a cappella group, my barbershop quartet in to deliver singing Valentines. It's the car that I picked up my work colleagues from the airport in to drive to go see customers and try to sell them some software. It's also the car that I picked up the woman who would become my wife for our first date, and it's the car that when she saw it rolling into the parking lot outside of the dance hall where we first caught eye contact. She noticed and said, "Oh, look, Greg's here. I'm going to wait up a minute." It's a vehicle that's part of my story. And 2 days ago, I sold it. The story was that I had just gotten married to my beautiful wife. And we had been in the process of bringing our resources together over months and trying to figure out what the future looked like for us, and turning our situation from two lives together into one life together. Um, One of the things that we struggle with is the fact that we live in beautiful Seattle, a very high cost of living area. It's really hard to get ahead here, and we've been feeling that difficulty and looking for the release valves. Getting into that state of being committed to each other and excited about the bringing together and the long-term stability and success made me finally admit to myself, you know, I love my car and it adds up on paper, but it does run me $1,000 a month in car payments and insurance. And that $1,000 a month could go really far towards things that matter a lot more if I sell it. From the time that I first had that thought till the time that I found myself at a dealer having a conversation about selling it was maybe about a month. And there were certainly things that happened along the way that precipitated the action. Another discussion, perhaps. Uh, but what I'd done is I'd recognized a path for growth. And in recognizing it and fleshing that out with my wife, I started to see the parts of me that surviving that change would compromise it, but that in sloughing off would allow something new to be born more beautifully. So that's what I chose. I loved this car. This car was part of who I was. It's the kind of statement that when you see it, it changes the way you see the person who owns it. That's what I wanted. That's what anyone who drives a beautiful car really wants. It was during a time when I, like I mentioned before, was cutting loose from a previous life. And the biggest problem that I had to solve was that I had all this time and all this energy, and it was unshaped and unformed. I was coming out of this 15-year relationship, not really knowing who I was exactly. I had an inkling and enough of an inkling in order to initiate that change, but not enough to understand how it would take shape, the person I would be, what my life was going to look like. I had a vision, a goal of where my life might be in 40, 50 years when it's getting towards the end of things. But for the next, uh, you know, 2 or 3 months, I was clueless. So I made a guess, came home with the wheels, and driving that car around, it had a reciprocal effect. Um, I would see myself through the eyes of those who were seeing me in it, and also through the way that it was received on the road. We all who have driven here, especially on American roads, have had the experience of feeling how what we're driving is received. And we understand that a Chevy Suburban coming down the road feels a little different than, let's say, a Volt or a Prius. They have different street presences. We also, when we see a sports car come through, like a really deep, growly Mustang. There are those of us, and I'm certainly one of them, who cannot help but turn their head. There's something very, very uh, musky and almost sensual about a really beautiful sports car and the sound that it makes. Um, but anyway, so during this time when I really needed to form an identity, I was doing other things too. I was exploring my identity through work, doing sales work for the first time and finding that I loved it. I actually loved being and meeting with prospects. I love the high risk, high reward piece of it. I love taking the gambles and developing the relationships and making the presentations and being the center of attention. It was so enjoyable to explore that way of showing up to the technical work that I'd already been doing for a decade in a new way. I was also finding my way in a creative sense where I think by that time the podcast had gone under wraps. So for a long time, y'all may remember the Deeg podcast, the podcast that I used to run where I interviewed video game developers and streamers and content creators. Eventually, that podcast became a project where I talked to people about what was real about their lives, not necessarily what was behind the screen that they were sitting in front of. And it came time to change that, of course, when I let go of video games. And that's another discussion altogether. Although I'm sure if you listen to both of them, you will find co resonances. At the risk of going into too much detail, though, I think that the thing that is worth kind of really going all the way down into before I get up to where we're going with this half of the examination is to emphasize that what I was letting go of when I made the decision to sell my car was a part of myself. I think that this is something that is difficult to admit, and I'm having some difficulty admitting it. But I had made this car part of my identity, part of who I was, and I also made myself part of its identity. When we let go of a part of ourselves, what we're doing is making a decision to say, this may have been good, but it no longer serves me. And I have to move on. I have to grow. There's this fantastic video you can find out there if you search for it. It's Tom Hardy, the actor, recounting a conversation he had with Charles Bronson, who he was representing in film, on a phone call. And Tom disclosed to Charles that he had recently broken up with his girlfriend, was feeling kind of sorry for himself. And Charles shared a story with him and related an incident where there was flooding happening, and there was someone who got caught up in the flood, and they were in some kind of a waterway. They got their leg caught in a gate, and as the flood level kept rising, they sunk further and further into the water with their foot caught on the grate. Help was sent, but it was too late, and with the foot caught, with the piece of that person holding them back, they perished, they drowned. And in this great anecdote that Charles is sharing with Tom, Charles says, that would not have happened to me because I would have said, cut it off. Sometimes we have to let go of a part of ourselves, no matter how painful it is, in order to grow. Now, I was selling a car. I've had more painful lettings go that y'all have heard about and no doubt will. But I thought this would be a good moment to share a bit of a reflection upon how the things that we possess us are things we can choose intentionally and in a way that does not inhibit our growth, but inhabits our growth. I I will miss that car. I do miss it, but I'm not sad. and neither should you be when you let go of your thing. So think through it, feel through it, more importantly, and have faith. I hope that my words find you at peace, my friend, and it is my hope that they set you on the path to glory. God bless.